how I got here, genealogy. And my name's Brian Nash. Just doing some adjustments. Before I got here today, I had to basically rebuild part of my computer system in the last half hour. So I'm a little out of breath and I'm ready to go. So just things aren't adjusted the way I like to have them. So I do apologize. There we go. Now, this is not a straight angle. Perfect. That's a little better. How's everybody doing today? So today's more just of a random thing, and I'm just here to talk about a little bit of what's going on. Upcoming videos. Should be releasing another video, hopefully on Saturday morning again. It seems to be a good time that when I released them, and shortly afterwards, I seem to be getting a little more views. And I'm releasing shorts, and I've been releasing them overnight. So I'm not sure if it's just the European audience that's picking up them, but I'm getting a fair amount. Picking some of my content. I'm just doing some repurposing for it. So I hope you enjoy it. Hope that the idea is to try to expose myself to a few different people who don't normally watch me, so they can just see me in shorts if that's their preferred way of watching things. So my lighting here is a little different today. I was finding I was getting a lot of feed, a lot of issues with the lighting making my face glow. So I'm trying a few different things. I'm going to try a couple things here right now. I'm going to make some adjustments. So I hope you enjoy it. Why is this? This says here. Of course, somebody fix that. I better fix that now. Just give me one quick second. It's probably part of when my computer went down. Something got hit on. Just 1 second here. So I'm going to drop from here for a second. I'm going to remove myself, but the screen's still going to be there. So if you have anything, just post in the chat. I'm not going anywhere. Let's see how we're going there. Okay. So I'm back. So, like I said, a lot of times when I come on these, I have a specific purpose. Today, I'm more just answering questions. I'm just getting some things ready to stream very shortly at another point to a very specific stream. So I'm just waiting here. Today, I'm just doing a lot of testing of different things. And I usually do my St. Patrick's Day 24-hour live stream as a fundraiser for Parkinson's. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do that this year because St. Patrick's Day is on a Sunday, and I generally don't do things outside of church on Sunday. So I'll be either doing it possibly the weekend of, so that Friday or Saturday night. I'm thinking of doing it from Friday midnight until Saturday midnight, so the 16th. Or I might do it at a later date. Okay. So let's talk genealogy. Now, we all in our, when we do genealogy, if you've been watching a few of my latest videos, I've been working on one of my lines in Cape Breton. And it's really the way I kind of work when I do genealogy. I work down one line for a while and sort of till I hit a really brick wall that stumps me, and then I sometimes will put it aside and then concentrate on another part. But I've had a few people ask me specifically about some Irish questions lately, and I usually during March I kind of focus on leading up to my St. Patrick's Day live stream. I do some things specifically on Irish genealogy, and part of that is um, because I am focusing on St. Patrick's Day and promoting my 24-hour fundraiser, and um, the theme is to try to change what people think about being Irish. Everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day, they say, so let's figure out what it really means to be Irish. Last year I started the theme is, really real Irish people do not drink green beer. So if you give up that one green beer you might have out on St. Patrick's Day and donate that money to Parkinson's, you'd be doing a world of good. And you're really showing the true spirit of what it means to be Irish, since the Irish are known for being benevolent, and they're known for being, they're known around the world for being generous. Throughout their history, they set up orphanages and a lot of different charities, as did the Scottish, the Orangemen. And the Scots-Irish Orangemen. But I think it's a part of that immigrant spirit to North America too. Some of these, they have really a will to, that seems to be gone, to give and support to your community and other people. So let's get going, and we're going to roll on a few things. Now, with Irish history, it is really often hard because there's a couple things that happened with Irish records. In 1895, there was a lot of the records, the civil records, wound up being destroyed, and then again in June of 1922 during the Irish Civil War, the records building was burnt. Now there has been in the last 5 to 7 years, 5 to 7 years, maybe not even quite that long, has been a real movement in Ireland. There's a couple of the organizations that started gathering some of these records and basically reconstructing them, because they were saved in other places as well, gathering a lot of the church records and getting them sort of organized, indexed, and around in one spot. And with that, there's hope that those records that were once lost will be found, at least a good majority of them. The last I heard, the estimate was about 95% of those records they expect may be restored, in addition to other records that they have been adding. This affected both North and Northern Ireland and Irish Republic, since all the records were at that point kept in one spot in Dublin. So hopefully they'll be getting things together, and it'll be as easy to use as finding some of the Scottish records that are out there. But one of the hardest things I know for myself, and I know from talking to other people that have immigrant ancestors from Ireland that have come to Atlantic Canada, come to North America and different places, a lot of times the extent that they know that which relative came from Ireland is recorded on a person's child's death certificate, or it might be in a census. Either of those things often are missing the exact location, which makes it difficult if you're looking for somebody like Patty Murphy, or Patrick O'Brien, or I even have in my case John Nash is being married to a Bridget Walsh. There was a few of them around that time period that could fit that those names and that age that is expectant. So it does make some difficulty sometimes getting those records if you don't have a good oral family history. That's why it's important to seek out your relatives, your older relatives who might have that. Yes, patio furniture. Yes. With the when you have those names, they're really common. You are going to run into some roadblocks if you don't know very specific. First things is to try to figure out they were Catholic or Protestants, because you're going to be looking at different records, and also can affect somewhat the regions where they're more likely to come from. If you know the year they emigrated to Canada from, that can help too. If you don't know the place, or if you know the port possibly they left from, it can, by going through some of the ship's records that are out there. And there are a lot of good sites that have those ship records and manifest. A lot of them, it's slim on detail, especially some of the, when you're talking about some of the Irish people that came over here during the famine, they weren't staying on suites on the boat. They were being packed as many as they can into some called them coffin ships, basically. The interesting thing is people talk about the slave trade and the shipping that went on there, and there was actually rules and regulations that just didn't exist for immigrants necessarily. But you're missing, you can miss a lot of times some of those records because they're not recorded, or it's not very much detail. Again, it's digging in and trying to find out where they're from. A good hint sometimes is to the communities that they've settled in. Even around a city like Halifax, there'll be different communities. You look at their neighbors, and if you can, by researching some of their neighbors who might not be related to you, but you might be able to find some of the connections there, because they did tend to, as people do nowadays when they're immigrants, they tend to move where people from their community is. If there's relatives or neighbors back home, that they'll try to seek them out, and they'll live in close proximity. So that can be a very helpful tip for when you're doing that, and when you're trying to get to the bottom of some of those mysteries of where your ancestors actually came from in Ireland. Because the number of Irish that came over here is quite large. At one point, the Irish made well over about 20% of the Canadian population, probably upwards in Atlantic Canada. You would be even higher. You'd be 30, maybe up to 30%. And even then, depending on the communities, you would find very, very Irish communities within Atlantic Canada. You still see that around where I'm in Prince Edward Island. There's communities like Emerald, Shamrock, Kincora, which is spelled a little differently, but in Ireland, the home of the ancient kings was at a place called Kincora. So you get those. There's definitely Irish communities where you would have a very large population of Irish. O'Leary is a good one. Up west in Western PEI, actually a lot of the that were Acadian communities, a lot of the Irish also settled there because there was Catholic churches, and you actually have that's one area where you'll have a lot of mixing of cultures is in the Acadian and the Irish culture in Western PEI. And a lot of that was because they were both Catholic groups that lived together, and they had that in common. And they already, some of them had, the French Acadian communities already had established churches that were here when the Irish immigrants started coming. Also, a lot of the land grants and farming areas, and not even land grants on PI, really, if they were, because of the way PI was divided into lots with absentee landlords. A lot of the land that they had to, that they were sent to and paid rent on to these absentee landlords. A lot of the farming land would also be up west. They would, again, part of it would be looking at other Irish people where they settled, wanting to be with those communities, but even more so for them was a lot of the Catholicism too, especially at the beginning when there was no other Irish Catholics here. They would go to the French communities because they were Catholic. Even elsewhere in Canada, you'll have a lot of Irish people that you wouldn't, where places you wouldn't suspect. Like there's a large Irish population in the Montreal area of immigrants that went there because, again, a lot of it would be because of religion. Religion plays a big part on how people settle, and why it's really important sometimes to know that and have an understanding of some of the church history, no matter if they're Irish Catholic, a Scottish Presbyterian, Scottish Catholic, which was a little more rare than the Irish Catholic, but there was definitely some areas of Scottish Catholic groups throughout the Maritimes. And it's really funny though, a lot of those, the Scots that were Catholic and Scots that were Protestant, they might not necessarily get along on religious terms, and it might have been a little more prominent back home, but when they got over to Canada and a lot of the communities, they settled neighbor to neighbor. The Catholic priests and the Presbyterian ministers and some of the non-religious type services that they provided, as far as some of the things that we would call, part of that social safety net that we have come to love here in Canada. Some of the schools, hospitals and stuff, they would be by those groups, and differences kind of sometimes faded away. In the more urban areas, you'd still get a little bit of that tension. But definitely in the rural areas, it was a matter of survival, especially when you had Gaelic people, the Gaelic Scots that were the Catholic Gaelic Scots and the Protestant Gaelic Scots. Yeah, they had the language in common. So we're nearing about 24 after. I usually, depending on what I'm doing, I usually try to end it, either half hour or an hour. I'm actually experimenting a little bit of times and seeing how these work on the replay. This one I don't think will be particularly that exciting, since I didn't really do much but more discuss things. One of the things, as always, if you're watching this on the replay, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know that. Let me know when's a good time to do these, and what topics you would like to do. I usually, near the end of these, I end them with since I originally were calling these how we got here, genealogy happy hours, where I would, because it was more of a very relaxed type thing, I would do what I'm going to do now, and it's I would do my last call, and that last call would be for any questions, for basically a question period. So I do it, and if I don't get any questions within the first couple of minutes, I usually shut her down. And so let's go. And let's see if that's playing. Don't know there. My audio, like I said, a whole bunch of things got set up differently here. Anyways, why do I come to Halifax next? It's a good question, Dean. My wife's actually there tonight. She's back in Halifax, and I'll probably be there in March, just after St. Patrick's Day. I plan on being in Halifax for a day or two, around the 21st to 22nd, I think. And so, yeah, if there's not any other specific questions about genealogy, I'll sort of call it a night, and I'm going to sign off. And I'll say farewell for now.
Things change. Farewell, farewell, my friend. Things change. Farewell.